Let's go ahead and talk about the September 26, 2025 episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, we kick off the show with the first segment of the night where we see Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, he comes out there and he was talking about what happened at WrestlePalooza with Brock Lesnar and everything. And then he was talking about Seth Rollins and the Vision. He was talking about how nobody wanted to come out here and spend 2 hours of talking and everything. And how he wants to talk about whatever the fans wants to talk about, unless it's Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns or whoever. So yeah, that's what he was talking about there. But then he gets interrupted by the undisputed WWE champion, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes out there and he asks Paul Heyman, who exactly is he talking to? He says, is he talking to the wise man, the oracle, or the advocate? And then Paul Heyman tells him that he is talking to the GOAT. So yeah, that's what Paul Heyman tells him. And yeah, Paul Heyman starts talking about how whenever Brock Lesnar is around, everyone's in trouble. Just like how Cody Rhodes is possibly in trouble right now. And then out comes Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, the Vision. They get into the ring, and then Cody grabs the mic and he says that it looks like everyone else is ready for a fight and everything. But then he asked Braun Breaker, and he says that this is like the first time that he gets to see him and everything. And he says that, you know, he probably is the future and everything. But he says that Paul Heyman says that about a lot of people. And he says that maybe he told Bronson Reed that he's the future main eventer of WrestleMania and everything. So yeah, that's what he was saying there. But he says that Paul Heyman's not loyal to anyone, and he's damn sure not loyal to Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed. And then Braun Breaker gets pissed off about that. He rips off his shirt, and then Cody was like, well, it looks like you're ready for a fight, so let's go ahead and fight. And then he starts throwing the first punch on the Bronson Reed, and yeah, all three guys starts fighting. Cody was getting the upper hand at one point. He almost hits Crossroads onto Bronson Reed, but then he gets taken out by Braun Breaker. It became 2-on-1. Both guys is beating the hell out of Cody up until Randy Orton comes running down there making the save. Bronson Reed got out the ring, so him and Randy's going at it outside of the ring. Orton gets into the ring. He's going at it with Braun Breaker. He tries to hit the RKO on the Breaker, but Breaker pushed him away. But then he manages to hit the RKO on the Bronson Reed because he done got into the ring at that point. And then Cody clotheslines Breaker over the top rope onto the floor, sending him out. And yeah, Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton standing tall inside the ring, while Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed is outside the ring. And it looks like it's going to be a tag team match set it up later on tonight between all four of those guys, it seems like. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then after that, we see Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, the Street Profits, talking backstage, and they was talking about how they're not breaking up and how they're united and everything. And they was talking about how they're going to get back to the tag team title scene, and they was talking about how they're going to take care of Melo Don't Miz tonight to go ahead and try to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions once again. So yeah, that's what the Street Profits said. And yeah, up next it'll be the first match of the night, the Street Profits versus Melo Don't Miz. Up next in a tag team match, it'll be a number one contenders tag team match up next on SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the first match of the night. It was Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, the Street Profits, versus The Miz and Carmelo Hayes, Melo Don't Miz, in a tag team number one contenders match. Winner of this match will be number one contenders for the WWE Tag Team Championships. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a pretty good one. And Miz and Melo was doing pretty good up against the Street Profits. He was beating them down and everything. We see Melo doing pretty good up against Montez Ford, laying him out and everything with the first 48. And then he was climbing up the top turnbuckle to hit nothing but net. But then Miz tags himself in. Miz gets into the ring, but then Melo grabs him by the arm, and Melo's all upset with Miz for doing that, and Miz telling him to let go of him and all that stuff. And then during that time when both the guys was arguing, Montez done tagged in Angelo. Angelo comes in there, he starts beating down Miz, laying him out and everything, and Melo done fell off the top turnbuckle because he was up there and Miz hit the ropes on accident. So Melo done fell off the top turnbuckle, and Angelo Dawkins is beating down Miz, hitting the spine buster onto him. He tags in Montez. Montez climbs up the top turnbuckle, jumping off with a frog splash onto Miz, and then he pins him for the 1, 2, 3, picking up the win. But during the 3 count, we actually see Carmelo Hayes having the opportunity to break up the pin, and he was halfway in the ring, but then he stopped himself and decided not to break up the pin because he's definitely upset with Miz. So yeah, that's what happened there. The Street Profits defeated Melo Don't Miz tonight to become the number one contenders for the WWE Tag Team Championships, and the Street Profits were celebrating, but then they looked over and we see the Wyatt Six all gathered around the announce table, and the only person that wasn't there was Uncle Howdy, but we see Nikki Cross, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Dexter Lumis. So yeah, the Wyatt Six was staring down the Street Profits right there. But yeah, for that tag team match, I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a pretty good tag team match. But yeah, after that we see Kathy Kelly interviewing Jade Cargill backstage. And Jade was talking about how she's going to win the Women's Championship tonight and all that stuff. And then she gets interrupted by Stephanie Vaquer. She comes over there and Stephanie was talking about how she's going to be watching a close eye on that Triple Threat match tonight. And yeah, that's what happened there. Later on tonight, Tiffany Stratton will be defending the Women's Championship up against Jade Cargill and Nia Jax in a Triple Threat match for the Women's title. Not only that, we're going to be seeing Sami Zayn delivering an open challenge for his United States Championship later on tonight. But up next, we're going to be seeing Julia and Kiana James in action up next on SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the next match of the night. It was the WWE Women's United States Champion Julia teaming up with Kiana James versus Michin and B-Fab in a tag team match. We get to this tag team match, and this tag match, it was pretty okay. Both of these teams going at it back and forth and everything. Michin and Kiana James was inside the ring. B-Fab done got taken out, and both of them was going at it back and forth and everything. But then Kiana James tags in Julia. Julia comes in there hitting a running knee to the face onto Michin, and then picks her up hitting the Northern Light Bomb onto Michin, pinning her for the 3 count. So yeah, Julia and Kiana James defeated Michin and B-Fab tonight in a tag team match. That's what happened there for that tag match. I'll give it 1.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, that's what happened there. After that tag team match, we see the WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss watching this backstage on the TV monitor in the locker room. And then they get interrupted by Zarya and the NXT Women's North America Champion, Speed Champion, Sol Ruca. And yeah, they wanted to come up and try to get a Women's Tag Team title match. And then Charlotte Flair tells them that they need to get back in line. And then Zarya was talking about how, Charlotte doesn't never get in line or anything when it comes to title opportunities. And so Ruka was trying to get Zarya to calm down. She says no, she actually meant that. So yeah, that's what happened there. And so Ruka, and Zarya, it was going at it back and forth and everything about that. And then Alexa Bliss straight up tells them that they need to get in the back of the line because they don't even act like a team, unlike her and Charlotte Flair, where they argue and everything. But then once they get in the ring, it's all good. So yeah, that's what Alexa Bliss was saying to them. And then they walked off. But yeah, that's what happened there. But up next, we're going to be hearing from Drew McIntyre up next on Friday Night SmackDown. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So, the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the next segment of the night where we see Drew McIntyre. He is standing in the middle of the ring. And, yeah, he got one of those medical boots on after injuring himself at WrestlePalooza this past Saturday. So yeah, that's what Drew McIntyre got on. And McIntyre starts talking about that actually. He starts talking about how he should be the WWE champion right about now, but he is a uncrowned champion without the championship and everything because of the referee. But he says that he forgives the referee, but he says that, what if he would have hit Claymore against Cody Rhodes' head into the steel steps? Would have that been a disqualification? He said no. So it wouldn't never been disqualification anyways to the announce table. So yeah, that's what Drew McIntyre was talking about and how he should be WWE champion right about now. But then he gets interrupted by the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis comes out there, and Nick Aldis tells him where did he get that medical boot from. And then Drew McIntyre was talking about how he don't trust WWE or anything. So he says that he got his own medical team. And yeah, that's what he was talking about there. And Nick Aldis was like, look, I'm done arguing with you. He says that you're going to get in the back of the line and everything for the WWE Championship. And he walks off. And Drew McIntyre starts complaining in the middle of the ring up until he gets interrupted once again by the return of Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu comes out there and he tells Drew McIntyre to stop whining and everything. And then McIntyre hits a headbutt onto him, the Glasgow Kiss onto Jacob Fatu. It pisses him off, and then Jacob Fatu lays him out and he grabs the medical boot, hitting Drew upside the head, laying him out in the middle of the ring. And Jacob Fatu was standing over top of him. So yeah, that's what happened there with Jacob Fatu returning and attacking Drew McIntyre. And now it looks like we're getting a feud between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. And you know what? Hey, that's going to be great. But yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment there. But then after that segment, we see the WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, backstage getting ready for the triple threat match later on tonight. And then the Women's World Champion, Stephanie Vaquer, comes up, and Stephanie was talking about how she's keeping her eye on Tiffany Stratton tonight. And then Tiffany was talking about how she's going to retain her title and go on the crown jewel and pin Stephanie's shoulders to the mat. So yeah, that's what Tiffany tells Stephanie there. But then, after that segment, we get to another backstage segment with the United States Champion, Sami Zayn, talking to Rey Fenix, and Rey Fenix is asking him, who does he think is going to accept the U.S. Open Challenge? And Sami Zayn was talking about how anybody can accept it, but he says that we'll see what happens next. So yeah, that's what happened there. And in the background, we'll see Shinsuke Nakamura walking around, keeping an eye on Sami Zayn. But yeah, that's what happened there. But next, we're going to be seeing Sami Zayn delivering a U.S. Open Challenge for the United States Championship up next on SmackDown. So yeah, that will be up next. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we get to the next match of the night. It was the United States Champion Sami Zayn versus Javon Evans, one-on-one for the United States Championship. So yeah, Sami Zayn was doing his open challenge, and Javon Evans answers the open challenge. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a really good one. Both of these guys going at it back and forth and everything. Javon was taking control of this match a couple of times. Same for Sami, coming up near falls a lot of times in this match. At one point, Javon was trying to hit his finishing move onto Sami after he got him down. The spinning corkscrew splash onto Sami, but Sami moved out of the way. So Javon hits the mat, and then Javon's in the corner. Sami tries to hit the haluva kick, but Javon moves out of the way, so Sami hits his leg on the top turnbuckle. Javon was taking control of this, hitting the cutter off the top turnbuckle. He pinned Sami. 1, 2. Sami barely kicks out at 2, and then Javon tries to springboard off the top rope, try to hit like that clothesline on the Sami. Sami moved out the way. Javon lands on his feet, but he's in the corner. Sami then hits the haluva kick onto Javon in the corner, and then he hits the Blue Thunder Bomb onto him, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Sami Zayn defeated Javon Evans tonight in a one-on-one match to retain the United States Championship. That's what happened there. Really great match. For that match, I'll give it 3.5 stars. That's why I'll give it. Great match between Sami Zayn and Javon Evans right there with them two. So yeah, Sami Zayn has been doing pretty good by elevating the United States Championship. So yeah, it's been some really good stuff. But yeah, that's what happened there. Really great match between Javon Evans and Sami Zayn there for the United States Championship. Like I said, 3.5 stars. That's why I'll give that one. But yeah, then after that, we see Nia Jax walking around backstage. And then Chelsea Green and Alba Fire comes up, and they got a thing to try to offer Nia Jax a job to work underneath Chelsea Green as a security guard, and then Nia Jax just ripped it up, and she tells him to beat it, so she walks off, and then she runs into Stephanie Vaquer, and Stephanie will be watching the triple threat match later on tonight with those 3 women. So yeah, that's what happened there, but up next it'll be Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax in a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship in the main event of tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, we got to get to the main event because this main event was just pretty wild. But before we talk about that, we got to talk about a backstage segment where Damian Priest runs into Kit Wilson backstage. So Kit Wilson's in a wheelchair, and he got his arm in a sling because he got put through a wall last week on SmackDown by Damian Priest, and he's all upset about it. And he was telling Damian Priest that he's not a real man, that himself, he's a real man. And he stood up to Damian Priest and he starts pushing him. Damian Priest kind of like bucked up at him, but then Kit Wilson turns around, tries to run away, but runs into the wheelchair and a bunch of crazy laying himself out. And then, Damian Priest calls him a bitch. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then Aleister Black was behind Damian Priest the whole time watching this. And then Aleister Black says, "Are you looking for me?" Priest turns around, he gets hit with a black mask getting laid out by Aleister Black. So yeah, that's what happened there. But then after that, we get to the main event. It was the WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax in a triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship. This match, it was decent for the most part. It was a bunch of botches in this match, which we'll get to in a second. But, the beginning of this half of the match wasn't too bad. We see a double superplex onto Nia Jax at one point by Jade and Tiffany onto her. At one point, Tiffany hits the prettiest moonsault ever onto Nia, gets a 2 count of that because Jade breaks it up. At one point, Jade hits Jaded onto Tiffany. She pins her 1, 2. The referee got drugged out of the ring by the count of 2 by Nia Jackson, and that's when Jade and Nia is going at it outside the ring. And then we see Nia throw Jade into the steel steps, and I guess that's how Jade got busted open, because she got like a cut above her eye. So she was bleeding in this match, and then she hits a Samoan drop on Nia on the steel steps, taking her out. But then both women gets back into the ring. We see Jade hits the Eye of the Storm, the Black Hole Slam onto Nia, and this is when the bunch of botches happens. So Jade starts pinning Nia, and during this pinfall, Tiffany was supposed to come into the ring and break up the pin at the count of 2, but Nia had to kick out at 2 because Tiffany was too late. But she drop kicks Jade anyways, but Nia did kick out 2 from that move. And then Tiffany goes immediately for a pin onto Nia. Referee starts counting, and then I guess Nia Jax forgot to kick out because the referee stops the count at the count of 2, and then the fan starts chanting, "You effed up, ref." So yeah, that's what they're chanting there, and you can see the referee getting embarrassed by that, and then Tiffany hits the prettiest moonsault ever onto Nia Jax, pinning her for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Tiffany Stratton defeated Nia Jax and Jade Cargill tonight in the triple threat match in the main event of tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown to retain the WWE Women's Championship. And then after that match ended, we see the WWE Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer. She comes walking out there, standing face to face with Tiffany Stratton, both women holding up the titles, setting up their match for Crown Jewel champion versus champion. Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton 1-on-1 at the show. So yeah, that match is now official there. And yeah, for the main event, I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a bunch of botches and everything in that one. Match of the night was definitely Sami Zayn versus Javon Evans. That was match of the night for me right there. For tonight's episode of SmackDown, I'll give it 8 stars. That's why I'll give it. But yeah, that was SmackDown. Pretty average. But yeah, that has been my Friday Night SmackDown reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube, subscribe to my other channel, Word of Chris, and follow me on all my social media accounts. It'll be down there in the description box. And yeah, I'll be doing my NXT reviews tomorrow night because they got PLE coming on tomorrow. No Mercy, I believe. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then.